or executed, what would you do? I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat every death game in Squid Game. This guy is the unluckiest man in the world. Gion here has just gambled the last of his life savings on a horse track and manages to win 4 million won. Collecting the money from the teller, he runs out to spend his new hard-earned cash and steps outside to call his family with the good news. He's on top of the world, but that's when he notices a gang of loan sharks approaching him and realizes his luck has just run out. Panicking, he runs back inside to escape them but crashes into this woman and falls to the ground, now realizing that this pickpocket has just stolen all of his winnings. The loan sharks finally corner him in the restroom to collect his debt, but when he checks his pocket, he finds it slashed open and his money has disappeared. With nothing to collect, they force him to sign his contract with his own blood, promising to pay them back in 1 month. Depressed, the gambler sits on the subway bench to wait for the next train home, when this businessman comes over to talk to him. He asks if Yoon here wants to play a game, and the gambler thinks he's just an annoying salesman, but then he opens his briefcase, revealing stacks of cash and 2 folded paper squares. The salesman invites him to play the Korean game Dakji, promising to give him 100,000 won every time he wins, but he'll have to pay the salesman if he loses. It's a ridiculous gamble, but with everything to gain, Gion decides he's in. The man places a folded paper on the ground, and the gambler tries to flip it over, but he only manages to make the red tile jump. He's failed, but when the salesman takes his turn, he flips it over on the first try. Gion tells the man he doesn't have the money to pay him, but the salesman offers to reduce his debt in return for 1 slap in the face. It's an offer he can't refuse, and desperate to win, he takes the slap to continue playing. He keeps losing each round, getting smack after smack, until finally he throws down his tile and flips the salesman's paper over. Gion has just won 100 grand for playing a children's game, but it's not as innocent as it may seem. Okay, first of all, let me just say that this guy here needs to be careful, because if any of these trains are going to Busan, then he's going to instantly regret it. Now as for Gion here, accepting this game was a terrible idea. This man can't stop himself from gambling with money he doesn't even have, and against someone who walks around with a dakji in his suitcase and is clearly better at the game than him. Anyone with a brain wouldn't take that bet, but once Gion realizes that it's free money and only requires a slap in the face to keep playing, he doesn't stop to consider that this whole situation is suspicious as hell. Look at this guy's outfit here. This man is strictly on business, and since he approached him with such a specific agenda, it tells us he already knew that Gion is a degenerate gambler and is targeting him for some hidden reason. This salesman gave him every possible chance to make sure he's won some money from him, and nobody tries that hard to lose money unless what you're getting in return is much more valuable. Gion was too greedy to recognize any of these warning signs, and the man let his emotions get the better of him. Now, none of this guy's suspicious behavior matters if you had a proven strategy to play and win. Dakji is a game that Korean school kids play, and it's so popular that the game is even televised for mass entertainment. But it's not the strongest player who wins this game, it's the smartest and most coordinated. If you look at this player here, he manages to flip the paper in 1 try, and that's because he used the most surface area to make more contact with the other paper. If you can strike the target with the flat side of your Dakji paper, then the momentum will be transferred and carry the paper up on the bounce so that it flips over. This might seem counterintuitive, but it's just plain physics. And you can see this player was not successful because he was trying to use the edge, which is not a winning strategy. If Gion here had known the best way to play this game, he could hustle this businessman for all his cash and walk away without having to get slapped in the process. Now, even though he won, this one victory will soon lead the gambler to playing 6 of the most terrifying death games you could possibly imagine. And instead of a slap in the cheek, he'll soon